comes in. Let's welcome Ms. Mwabine, Assistant Director in the Office of the Government Business. On a serious note, I went to university with him, so he's very special to me. And he was a serious politician while at university. But he is aware that once you come to these two respective departments, you do not play any politics. You only provide technical and administrative support. I was with him. He did not support me when I was campaigning as a guild president. He was on the opposite team, just like it is today. But as I told you, we're not in politics. Ours is to provide technical and administrative support. And I encourage you, please, to continue with that kind of spirit. The next song goes to him. Joseph, please, go ahead. The Director and Office of Government Business to remind us about the mandate of the office. Rani, the Queen. The Queen from where? Awitong.
Thank you, Peter. We should be very mindful of Ebola now. So I think we need to encourage the sanitizers more aggressive now. Mr. Waiswa, thank you so much. I need to thank you because here you are among one of my mentors. I want to thank Human Resource. I can see Mr. Enoch there from CPS. Thank you so much. I want to thank the graduates. I think we've been making fun of the event today, and I've been telling them, you always tell me you are attending training and yet you are getting zeros. That was a high joke. But I just want to say that we are very grateful to the institution of Parliament. Yesterday, when I was watching the Queen's Burial, I thought that is just my other home. I think I and Peter benefited so much from the attachments, internship. I don't think I'm the same as I entered here. Leave the growth, but also knowledge-wise. I could see the protocol issues handled, and I felt that was the training we underwent when we were in the Houses of Commons. You are very privileged to have been trained in policy analysis. The department is, our department, I say, is very busy department. Not that LOP is not, but I always say we always give you work. We always give you work, alternatives. While you're working on alternatives, as we are working on the real issues, but that's a joke. I want to say I have, the 1 year I've been in the department, I've learned a lot. And if I was to make an analysis, that is where the kitchen of parliament is and leader of opposition. So I want you to, after this training, I don't expect any work that will come on my desk without technical, technical work. I expect very refined work. I expect you have grown. And I want to say, Peter, I can tell you the substance of work we are getting on our table nowadays, there is improvement, great improvement. This is all because of your initiative. The mandate of our department is to coordinate government business. And coordinating government business comes with a lot. That is just the details is in the pudding. What we do in coordinating government business is very wide, but we collaborate well, and I don't think we are government and there's opposition. We are all technical staff. So when I call upon Charigonza, he's always, "And my service, yes, ma'am, what can I help you? Thank you so much." When I call Peter, I'm like, "Peter, no, we need to do these things like this." And we are grateful. Sometimes we don't get the statements in al fresco. We don't take it politically, but we get advice from you and you say, "No, this one, they have said they will only handle it on the floor." But you give us snippets, and this helps a lot. So I want to say, we should keep the mandates of our office at the back of our mind. I think in my office, I whip them every day and tell them, "You are not politicians, you are civil servants." And I have trimmed them a lot. That's why now they can put on a suit and a tie properly, and they can address themselves well, and they don't rub their shoulder onto a member's shoulder because they came, I competed with so and so. I want to say there's improvement. They handle themselves with dignity. I want to report that to Mr. Waiswa. They would not follow into going to the PM and they start equating themselves to the Prime Minister. So they're getting into our organizational culture. I want to thank you once again and say these papers should help you be better people, and we shall have more training in future on various aspects. Thank you very much. Just to talk about Peter, I and Peter did the same course. We have given technical guidance to various students in mass communication. No wonder the room is the way it is. We are from PR backgrounds. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rani. That cannot be worthy what she has said. Please rise again and clap. Thank you. And the next song is dedicated to her. Thank you. Thank you very much. It appears the team is getting tired. We're going to have a breakfast. We'll be serving shortly as we wait for our guests to arrive. Whoever is coordinating the tea, please, can we serve? David, wherever you are, please report to me. Hello. You still have a pending assignment. I've been liably informed by the consultant, and we're going to invite the person who's supposed to lead us in this session to Mr. Kavma. Let's rise and welcome Mr. Kavma. Here you go.
Honourable members of parliament or present, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I'm glad that we have all reached on this important occasion and event, which is the epitome of this important journey that we've taken and the important sessions we've had the early morning calls. Actually, I think everyone deserves to be congratulated for this. I'm just going to speak about one of the assignments, which was concerning, I want to thank, first of all, our trainer, who during all this time, I think each of us at certain point, he will tease us with some of good materials that each of us would actually go through and read through, and then we can be able to share. And I think I'm one of those who are lucky and blessed to read one of the most, I think, famous books, and I think I would recommend everyone to read it. It's called The Prime Minister. And actually, I think if you're working in Parliament, you need to read this book. It's, of course, it gives an account of what takes place. And when I talk about the Down Street or at number 10, I think when you look at the events that have been happening for the last 1 week, you'll actually understand when I talk about the Down Street or number 10. You also what happened in the UK. So it gives more of an account of the trends, the politics, the businesses that are around the office of the Prime Minister. I think I'm not going to follow the PowerPoint, but I think you can run it. Just briefly, looking at the first, so when you look at, I think all of us are aware that UK or Britain is one of the countries that are using the parliamentary system of government. And one of the key personalities or office is the office of the Prime Minister. And actually this book is doing justice, actually looking at that and even its history, looking at how transition is actually done in the UK. And actually what they have is more of a system of cabinet, not like the way you would see other governments where they have this, there are different systems like the presidential systems and other systems. Now, the cabinet, first of all, if I would give the history of cabinet, looking at how the writer put it, it's a very interesting one that it started more of an informal setting. Actually, it started during the reign of Queen Anne. That was before 1945. And during that time, I would say the Queen or the Home Office created a small unit of around 5 people who would be like advisors. And they used to meet just informally. And because they used to access some of the state secrets, they would give them some of those important documents to look at and read and then advise the Queen. So they ended up calling it cabinet, just from the way cabinet is, because it actually keeps secrets. And so interesting that even the term Prime Minister came out of that. That out of the 3, those top people who used to advise the Queen and the monarchy by then, one of them who used to be the most prominent one, just like in the setting, if you have somebody who is like the opinion leader, so his enemies used to call him a prime minister. It was like an abuse. They would call him as a prime minister, as somebody who is outstanding out of the others. So actually a term which became as an abuse, it ended up being taken later as it actually evolved. And in cabinet, apart from just like here, apart from the responsibility of looking at the budget and legislative agenda, they have the 4 main roles in the UK government. I think the 4th is supposed to be the EU affairs. The first one is parliamentary business. They look at how Parliament is running most of business, how do they respond in terms of the questions, just like here, how you look at, that's one of the roles. And the other one is about looking at the Home Affairs. Home Affairs there, you look at what are the affairs to do with the monarchy, what to do with issues to do within the country itself, and then Foreign Affairs. I think all of you, when you see the history of the Great Britain, they had a lot of interest with what actually happened out there with some of their colonies. So that is one of the responsibility they will have. And then also the EU affairs within the European Union, because I think later you'll see that the EU was so instrumental in the affairs of any country within Europe that actual bills all can be passed the other side, and this side, the Prime Minister just assigns to them. I think just a reflection, like you'll have the East African community, where if IALA passes bills, here the president just assigns to them even without being endorsed. That's how instrumental EU was, very key. And then, and majorly, like I said, it started as an informal setting. It was more for purposes of building consensus. Like in case the Prime Minister had something which was very controversial, so he would bring it to the members just for purposes of informing them. The most interesting part of it, by then the UK cabinet was not like you'd see in different settings here, where cabinet has to sit, make a decision about something. It was more of a platform of colleagues of which a Prime Minister will go to them to actually get views, inform them what is actually happening. And then the other issue was about the control of cabinet. So, and I think this, actually I brought in Tony Blair because this book was giving an account of majority of the prime ministers. And one of my favorite that I actually picked out was Tony Blair. And I wanted to give him as one of the examples. And it shows you how the office of the prime minister and cabinet actually moves. Actually, the writer was trying to describe the leadership style of Tony Blair. Say Tony Blair was the kind of prime minister who actually looked at more of the wider good. His policies were looking at more of the bigger picture, but he had issues on what is happening out there. And I think I'll draw you to one of the controversial issues in the UK of previously. You remember when USA after September 11th, I think that time it was Tony Blair, and then the decision to actually send the armed forces to actually Afghanistan. Actually, it is said he did not even call cabinet to take that decision. It was just informal. The fact that for him, that was a strategic move, it did not need, actually, it was just out of informal. So for him, as long as it is about the bigger picture, he would use all other means. He would not mind actual about formal processes. And although the other part of it, Tony Blair was not somebody who used so much depend on what intellectuals actually used to say about it. But of course, you would, in most cases, want to care what are they talking about him. But he's somebody that he was not about like, let me get technical people to look at it. Let me look at this. As long as it's about strategy, it's about a bigger picture, he would go for it. And then now this, actually, because of that, and the office of the prime minister, how it came in existence partly was because the crown, when I talk about the crown, I mean the queen. You know, in the UK, the crown is, that's the office which is the head of state. And the prime minister is head of government. Actually, for them, it is very clear. The head of state is actually constant. So what actually keeps changing is the head of government. So government can change in a minute, and it's going to be interested in the last slide, show you actually what happens. You know, here when you see transitions in Africa, it's very interesting that you can throw a lot of things. If all of us followed what happened in Kenya, and it's big, we invite, my dear, in the UK, transition takes not more than an hour, and government has changed and it's already working. That is so interesting about it. So the prime minister had a lot of powers because the crown was at his disposal. It was like the right arm of the crown. So in most cases, he would actually take on some of the powers of the crown to actually exercise. And one of the legislators called Ben Blair came up with a bill which was called, actually, I think they nicknamed it Ben Bill. and it was called the Prime Minister of Britain Bill. And here he was trying to trim actually all the powers. And if you see, first of all, the dissolution of Parliament, if you realize in the UK, Parliament can be dissolved almost in a split of a second. So as long as the Prime Minister moves to the Queen and gives a justification as to why he needs dissolution of Parliament, they will do it. You remember May immediately when she took over, she realized, I think she needed, she went and they had the snap elections again and they dissolved Parliament. So it actually happens almost. So, and those powers are vested in the Crown. But because the Prime Minister has a role, he can actually decide to go and ask the Crown to actually do it, and they rarely say no. So they actually wanted to trim some of these powers, such that for this to happen, they must have consent of Parliament, like sending armed forces, signing and ratification of treaties. All these, the Prime Minister could do them without actually going to Parliament. Unfortunately, this bill did not pass, because if you see, it was actually, it was indirectly trimming the powers of the Crown to bring it actually to the normal people. So that's why actually did not pass. Next slide. I just wanted us to go through the transition, and I think I will. All right. Now this is very interesting, and I'm just going to give a good example of another one of other prominent prime minister that I actually enjoyed in this book. That was Margaret Thatcher. She was really Thatcher. She was she's uninteresting, and I think if you're getting this book, you'll really that's why Tony Blair and they become as prominent in this. Now, the transition between Callaghan and Thatcher, it's so interesting that Jim resigned at 2 p.m. and by 3 p.m. there was government. Government was already formed and it was already running. That's interesting. And for them, their normal system is, I think most of you have seen when the Prime Minister of UK is about to resign, he goes and addresses a press conference. Now, that is one of a point which has a lot of historical connotation, where it's called actually, it's number 10. That's at the front door of where actually the Prime Minister sits. So that's why actually the process begins. So, and here, if I give quickly, Jim, first of all, he just started by having a simple lunch with his team, like the staff you're going to work with. And after that, he ceremonially walked down to the corridors in front of the number 10, that is the prominent door. And then he made a press conference. And after that, it took a small walk. For those who have been to the UK, if you see where the office of the Prime Minister is, it is just a walk through up to Buckingham Palace. So actually, you can actually walk through, I think that is St. James Park. You can actually walk and cross where the Prime Minister is and where actually the Crown is. So after that, addressing a press, he actually is driven in his official car as a Prime Minister to where the Crown is, or to Buckingham Palace, where he's welcomed. This time around, I think he realized the fact that the Queen was not in London. So it had to be a long drive for the Prime Minister to go the other side. But what is so interesting, immediately the Prime Minister enters in, he goes into a private meeting with the Queen. That's when either the Crown asks the Prime Minister to form government, or he does what they call the kiss of the hand. Actually, I think this time round, it had taken long, I think since almost the 70s, they were not had a Prime Minister where they've changed government with the kiss of the hand. It has only happened with the current new Prime Minister. So you just do that and government is actually formed. Then after that, now that's the outgoing Prime Minister. After you're given now a different car, which is not the official car, and it drives you away. But remember, when you are entering, you receive the salute. When you go out, you're not saluted. So actually that shows that you're no longer Prime Minister. And now after that, the Queen sends a message officially to the new Prime Minister or the leader of opposition now to come and form government. And after the kiss of the hand, when you are getting out, you receive a salute. Now, that's the signal that actually the new government has formed. So in most cases, the press would stand at the door entrance. If you remember the events that we had, the press, until when the Prime Minister was getting out, was saluted, that's when they announced that a new government has actually been formed. And within 1 hour, government is formed. Now, that is the normal transition in the UK, and that's how it happens. And I think only there's one scenario where I think that was Heath, when actually he did not get the absolute majority, because in the UK you must get 50%, above 50% in the House to actually form government. But they had they call them the Tories. The Tories were that was the third party within the House. So the Prime Minister by then lost by only 4 votes. And he realized that actually, if I get the third party, which is within the House, I can actually form government. So he walked to the Queen and asked to form government. So during that time, because they had to consult, make a decision, that's the only time when the transition delayed for only 1 day. But in most cases, it's supposed to take not more than 1 hour for actual government to be formed. And I think the last slides quickly would be just about, now this is what they call, this is now transition in the UK. This is how it happened and it's done. Government has been formed. Even here, it was not the hand of the kiss.
Just 1 minute, please. Let's rise to welcome the leader of opposition representing Honorable Matthias Puga, Honorable Mwanga Chivumbi. He's accompanied by Honorable Bagala Joyce. You're welcome.
You're most welcome, Honorable. So this is how transition is done in the UK. You can I can just show you a few of them. Then just this is the interesting one. There is what they call the triangle, the famous triangle. In the UK, these are the most important people. One is the Cabinet Secretary, the Queen's Private Secretary, and the Prime Minister's Principal Private Secretary. Now, in most cases, when there are issues to do with the transition, these are the main people who actually advise. And I give an example. When Heath wanted to form government, you realize that the Crown had to, when these people, actually, they're like advisors, but you know, in the UK, they have what they call the Unwritten Constitution. These are practices that actually are very key to them, that even if it's not written anywhere, but these people, they can actually advise on how government is formed. So I've already talked about this. So this is, I think this is one of the famous, I think Prime Minister, I hear, I made that in the history lies. He was very interested. He was such an interesting Prime Minister that for him, he believed so much with working more of his colleagues. The people actually fought with, he was more in the army. Actually for him, he had the military government, I think, for that time. And he was such a person who loved history. That's why he actually moved more than any other Prime Minister. And now this is Heath, Ted Heath. Ted Heath is one of this, actually is the writer mentions him as one of the forgotten prime ministers, because he was is one of those intellectuals that actually took into this office and helped them in terms, because this was in terms post-war, to help them in terms of reconciliation. He didn't care, it was not more of a politician, didn't care much about what the press would say about him, as long as he was doing the right thing. And yeah, this is one of the famous one. You know, he actually handed over to Thatcher, and he caused a lot of changes in terms of trimming administration, in terms of a lot of changes. That's why actually they nickname him as the sea changer. And of course, the famous one, Margaret Thatcher. Yeah, she was, she's referred as the tigress surrounded by hamsters. I think you know hamsters. These are small rats. He was one of those that worked with a lot of authority. In her cabinet, she could not believe that you be her minister and actually go against her. She would come to cabinet to actually just convince you of what she's going to do. That's how powerful she was. And then finally, Tony Blair. Now this one, his slogan is more of command and control. He believed so much into taking charge. He didn't believe so much into formal processes. He would believe so much into using the core a few to actually run in terms. Actually, one time they were seated at a dinner like this, and Thatcher was the outgoing prime minister, and mentioned to one of the person that, and by then he was a very young man, says, I think this young man is going to be very bossy. And when they asked him, one of the media, when they leaked that, he said, I believe in taking charge of issues. And that's why I think he was one of those prime ministers that actually lived longer in terms of reign next after Thatcher. Otherwise, I think I thank you for listening to me.
No. I don't think he has felt that. Please clap him. Thank you very much. That was part of the assignment of the group that is being presented right now. The consultant did ask that there was a pending assignment. And I don't know whether you have done it well, Mr. Consultant. Probably you'll give your remarks later on this assignment. Once again, I want to welcome you. In the next few minutes, we shall be able to commence our event. But just to remind you on the program, we'll do an opening prayer. We shall have welcome remarks. We shall have two participants from the two departments to give a vote of thanks. Thereafter, we shall have the facilitator's remarks. The clerk to parliament will make his remarks. And then we shall invite the host. The host is the leader of the opposition, Honorable Matthias Impuga, and is being represented by Honorable Mwanga Chivumbi. Rise and welcome me once again. He is accompanied by the Minister of Information and Anti-Corruption, Honorable Joyce Berger. Please. I'm not seeing you rising. In our midst also, we have Honorable Kale Flavia, an IPU representative from Parliament. Thank you. And my name is Peter Busiku. I'll be your MC this morning. We also have the clerk to Parliament being represented by Deputy Clerk, Mr. Waiswa Henry. Please rise and welcome me once again. In our midst, we have Assistant Director in Office of the Human Resource, Daniel Adilo. We also have Enos Tumukatsiwe, Assistant Director, Office of Corporate Planning and Strategy. We have my ancestor, Mr. Misach, Assistant Director, Office of Government Business. We have the Queen, the Director in the Office of the Government Business, Rani. And before you, we have the beautiful, handsome men and women from the two departments, one from the Office of Government Business, and then the Office of the Leader of the Opposition. You're most welcome. To bring you on board today, we mark 103 days of training. We now, please rise and welcome the Chief Whip, the Government Chief Whip. Let's rise for the national anthem.
Prayer. Almighty God, who in your infinite wisdom and providential goodness has appointed the offices of leaders and parliaments for the welfare of society and just government of humanity, we beseech you to look upon with your abundant favor these your servants, whom you have been pleased to call to the performance of such important trusts in this land. Let your blessing descend upon them here assembled, and grant that they may, as in your presence, treat and consider all matters that shall come under their deliberation in so just and faithful a manner, to promote the honor and the glory of those whose interests you have committed to their charge. Amen.
Please take your seat. Thank you. Once again, I would like to welcome the Government Chief Whip. I would also like to welcome the Leader of Opposition, represented by Honorable Mwanga Chivumbi, who is the Shadow Minister for Finance. It is my singular honor, sir, to welcome you to this landmark in the history of Parliament of Uganda. In your midst, sir, we have the host. The host of this event is the Leader of the Opposition, and the guest to this function is the Government Chief Whip. Once again, let's welcome them. Our guests and the host, let me take this opportunity to give a background to this event. The people you see before you belong to two departments: the Department of the Leader of the Opposition and the Department of Government Business. As you're aware, our chief guest and the host, the Office of Leader of Government Business, its mandate is to coordinate government business with Parliament. Our guest, you are aware that the Office of the Leader of the Opposition was established in Parliament at the inception of the 8th Parliament, pursuant to the constitutional provision that restored multi-party politics in Uganda. And our mandate as a department is to provide technical and administrative support. And the mandate for the Office of Government Business equally is to coordinate government business. Cognizant of the fact, our guest, that Section 6E of the Administration of Parliament Act demands that Shadow Cabinet scrutinizes policy statements of government and proposes possible alternatives. Whereas this provision, sir, has always been adhered to, the policy analysts in our unit that's supposed to give support to the Shadow Cabinet had what we call analytical gap. So the Leader of the Opposition gave me instructions to design a training manual to bring the team on board. The Leader of the Opposition had launched what we call the legislative agenda, and it was launched by the former Speaker of Parliament, may his soul rest in peace. And thereafter, the Leader of Opposition requested me to approach the clerk to Parliament to have this training on board. Sir, when I did so, when I approached the clerk advised and said the content of this training was so rich to benefit the institution of Parliament. And he directed that I approach the director in the Office of Government Business to participate in this training. I went ahead and approached the director in the Office of Government Business, and we developed a curriculum that would benefit the two departments. Originally, the gap in our section was focused on budget forecasting analysis, post-legislative scrutiny, regulatory impact assessment, and drafting of evidence-based alternative policy propositions. We enriched this content to accommodate the interests of the other department. I want to report to you that we went through a rigorous exercise to identify a lead consultant. And in our midst, allow me to introduce the lead consultant, Anthony, legislative, experienced lawyer, advocate, Mr. Karori. Mr. Karori composed a team of experienced experts in areas of legislation, in areas of budget process, and he has taken 103 days training the staff from both departments. The staff have been going on this training between 7 to 9 o'clock on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I have been reliably informed that he has collected people around the world to address the team in areas of bill legislation and budget process, as he will report. Without wasting a lot of time, sir, allow me to now invite the students who have been in this training to give a testimony on what they have covered and probably give a vote of thanks. But before that, I would like to thank very much the clerk to Parliament for providing the funds through the Office of Corporate Planning and Strategy. The funding came from Parliament of Uganda and was coordinated by the Office of Planning and Corporate Strategy. I would like to recognize once again Mr. Enos for your efforts. I can't forget to thank the coordinators of the team who have been able to ensure that the training go as scheduled. And in a special way, I want to thank the leader of the opposition for initiating this training. This was his idea. And I also like to thank myself for enabling this program to be executed. And to me, it is my first baby. It was my first assignment when I joined the office. I was told the first 3 days I entered the office, the leader of the opposition told me, this is your first assignment. So for me, it's an output, and I would like to part. Without wasting all time, let me invite the two students to come and give their testimonies. Please be very brief in the interest of time. Introduce yourself.
Thank you very much, the Master of Ceremonies, our chief guest, the government chief whip, our host, honorable leader of the opposition, honorable members of parliament present, clerk to parliament, the directors in two offices of the leader of government business and leader of the opposition, other directors from other departments present, ladies and gentlemen, in your respective capacities. Allow me to take the honor to appreciate the leadership of this institution from the office of the speaker, because when this training started, it was officiated by the office of the speaker for the priceless opportunity accorded to us to attain invaluable knowledge and skills in legislative scrutiny and policy work. We are alive to the fact that such an arrangement costs a lot of money and time, which would have otherwise been put to other outputs of our work. That the leadership of this institution felt it important to make this investment is something we don't take for granted. Again, on behalf of my fellow trainees, allow me to thank our lead facilitator, Attorney Karori, from whose cup of knowledge we have drunk, and for selflessly sharing this knowledge and making all efforts that we listen to the best topic experts that there are from all corners of the world, sourced from his rich network. from the legendary Justice Sekandi, who made us appreciate and understand the political doctrine question and remind us to always be aware of the ghost in the ex parte Matov's case. Musings Blanche, a data journalist who introduced us to big data and research. Principal policy analysts like Chivunike, who introduced us to the regulatory impact assessment. Professor Habyarimana James, an Ivy League University trained scholar, who opened our eyes on what needs to be done to achieve quality in our education sector. Mr. Mwenyi Davis, the policy analyst guru from the Office of the President, who was generous to share with us what goes on in the preparation and preparing of legislation. The Uganda Coffee Development Authority boss, who made us want to abandon our jobs and go into the coffee farms. The IMF country representative, who shared the wonderful work they are doing in supporting Uganda's economy and transparency in government contracting. We did not only learn the technical aspects of the legislative scrutiny and policy analysis, but we also benefited from the demonstration of our facilitator and his commitment to work and positive work ethics. Indeed, many a time he challenged us as he exhibited more commitment to our learning than we did. For that, sir, we are humbled and heavily indebted to you. Allow me also to thank my fellow trainees who put in extra hours, committing to arrive an hour earlier to the official reporting time and putting in extra hours to balance the requirements of the course on top of their normal work schedules. Through this course, we have been firmly grounded in the history and background of Uganda, the legislature and the legislative process and interpretation of laws. We have been introduced to new concepts like the regulatory impact assessment, cabinet memos, and generally the processes that happen outside Parliament before bills are read for the first time. Our facilitator went at great length to make us understand the connection between policy and legislation, which is key if you are to play our duties better. The technical capacity building aside, the training which brought together trainees from the Office of the Leader of Government Business and Office of the Leader of the Opposition, as already shared by the Director, achieved the unintended outcome of breaking the ice and demonstrating in action how on a day-to-day basis we should relate and work with each other in a non-partisan way with the sole aim of helping the institution of Parliament produce high quality work. And lastly, on my behalf and behalf of fellow trainees, we once again thank the parliamentary leadership for this opportunity and pledge that you shall be able to see and feel the impact of this investment in our outputs going forward. I thank you. My name once again is Mukalas Deus Mobiru. I'm a policy analyst in the Office of the Leader of the Opposition.
The chief guest, the leader of opposition, the clerk, the directors on both sides of leader of government business and leader of opposition. I want to take this singular honor to thank the speaker, the deputy speaker, for steering this institution to a software institution that can lead and make this country prosper. I'd like to thank the government chief whip for accepting to come and officiate on this important function where your daughters and sons are graduating as the first, yet you are still new in the office. I want to thank the clerk for accepting to fund this course. It has not been easy. And as the director leader of opposition said, it is the first of its kind while he's in office. We have also benefited from that development. I would like to thank the director, leader of government business, and the leader of opposition for that union to identify us as the rightful people to come and take on this course, because there has been a gap in the process of analysis. But now I think the gap has been filled by the only humble, intellectual, renowned, who has poured the knowledge of the Harvard University down into Uganda, and not only to Uganda, but to the Parliament of Uganda. We thank you so much. We thank you again, our facilitator, for having connected us to various brains which gathered information from various sources to make sure that Ugandans are brought on same page in the subject of legislation and analysis. I don't want to forget my colleagues. I know it has been an uphill task to wake up before the time you wanted to wake up, to raise all the coordinates, to drive or to be driven, Parliament start class at 1, knowing that you have even another task ahead of you and nothing has remained lagging. I want to thank you very much for your resilience and have made this course come to its fruition. I want to also take this singular honor to Parliament of Uganda, the clerk, for also, and the director for identifying me to go and attend a course in Nairobi from the target consultant on the course of professional leadership, which I accomplished last Thursday. And on that, I would like to ask my sister, as a bond, because outside there, they normally know that opposition and those working in the government, they don't work together. But this course has made us come together. We have been constituted in 2 panels to discuss what has been taught in class and what is outside the world. I want to thank the panels. We're constituted in 4 panels, not on the basis of where you serve, but on the basis of serving Parliament. And we're all interacting freely. I have a small token that I will ask my sister to take around for you to share with me in recognition of the certificate I have been awarded and the one I'm going to be awarded as a bond between the 2 of us. This course has taken us a big step in our functioning in the Parliament. And this time around, Parliament is going to be vibrant. The side of the leader of opposition brings alternative policies. And it is our mandate to scrutinize those policies and adopt those we see and feel that they are taking government ahead. We are not saying that not all of them don't, but some of them are already there, but they are recorded, maybe they are not being implemented. But we commit ourselves that we shall continue to work closely and in unity with the 2 departments. For us, we are not of colors, but our color is Parliament. So we shall work together and make sure that our Parliament, our legislators, make a meaningful discussion, a meaningful legislation for the benefit of our people on the ground. My colleague has taken us through a number of subjects or course contents we covered. I will not go into that detail because we have already grasped it, and it is my request that my fellow graduates today, we put that into practice. Let's not leave it in the lecture room, but let's put it in practice. Parliament will benefit a lot in this. So today is not a day for making speeches, but only to appreciate what the leadership of Parliament is doing to its staff. We look forward for more programs, as we shall also scan through after benchmarking with other parliaments
so that we bring what we borrow from there here to be implemented. We shall not let Parliament down. This skill we have attained, we thank you so much. And finally, I want to give the thank to Mr. Karori. Mr. Karori stood by his ground. He had all he had to give to us, and we have really benefited. He did not say, today I'm going to do this outside the training. He has accomplished his task, and in case there is another opportunity, I pray he be given the opportunity. I thank you so much.
It's an advert. But you know, when you stay with politicians, you somehow, by osmosis, you adapt the style, their style. But please, let's rise to thank the two participants for their. Thank you. Thank you. Probably one thing you forgot was that in one of their training, I witnessed one of the facilitators from Canada taking them through, you know, the time difference. The other side is about 2 o'clock and this side's early in the morning. So I witnessed that kind of a scenario. And I would like to thank you for identifying global experts to interact with our staff. Our chief guests and the hosts, you know, these are the unsung heroes, the sacrosanct, the unsung heroes. And they will always speak when they are given an opportunity, because they're never heard of unless they are given an opportunity. But without wasting time, as we have the music interlude, let's welcome the facilitator to give his remarks.
Wow. It's a tough act to follow, but the objective of this course was capacity building, knowledge transfer. So when I stand here, each time I stand here, I have less and less to say. We have accomplished the course content to reintroduce our class to all the skills that speak to good legislation. We have also introduced the class to all other aspects of the policy cycle that exist outside of Parliament that inform legislation. We have also given the class the skills to track implementation of legislation. And finally, we have also worked on people skills. As you realize, it is free sitting here, working in groups. At the beginning of the course, I was asked, what does a panel mean? And I said, you will see what a panel means. Everyone has a strong point. Everyone can speak authoritatively on something. So this is not like it may look like a Christian crusade. So we now have engineers who can speak effectively to legislation, okay? We have people who had never thought of interacting with figures who can speak to use of big data. So the policy profession is relatively new in Uganda, but it's a growing cadre of people. They are posted from the cabinet secretariat to the ministries. You also find them in local governments. But this is the largest cohort of policy analysts and affiliated professions under one roof. So each time they've mentioned all these people who came, first Parliamentary Council, who is in the government standing orders, the final authority on legislation, the IMF rep, they would ask, whom am I speaking to? I didn't know there were so many people working on policy inside Parliament. So this has been a professionally first time. I also think here at Parliament, it's the first time we've had such a kind of a program. And I really, really want to thank all of you. I could say things about all of you all day long and we wouldn't go home. But we have reached the summit. Please apply these tools, grow them. You now know your strengths, your weaknesses, your capacities, your deficiencies. And lastly, one of the big things that came out of this program, it wasn't the original intent, actually. We talk about, in legislation, we talk about unintended outcomes. Initially, this was an interest by one department of Parliament, the leader of the opposition in Parliament, who has a very strict mandate to keep the government of the day in check. Then the clerk in January of this year threw us a curveball and said, you must bring the leader of government business. And this has turned out to be the biggest strength of this class because it opened a whole other array of resource people who could now come and speak to the class. Where do I start? Where do I stop? But I will just mention one by one, a few of them. So Second Jacko is over there. He knows how to compute offenses, currency points, and so on. Then there's Nakanjako, very shy. She can now speak to big data. Now, when we are talking about presentation, there was one person who always made sure the computer was working on time at this early hour of 7, Mutalia. Then there's Jean Kabibi, who realized she may not have the skills to draw a map, but she can really sell a manifesto, okay? So one of the classes we had the 3 major party manifestos, a synopsis delivered by the technical staff of Parliament. That is the National Resistance Movement, the Forum for Democratic Change, and the National Unity Platform. Certain things came out, and I told the class that in the policy cycle, it is a circular. Sometimes many times government actually borrows from the opposition manifestos, okay, when it comes to implementation. So you have to be very open-minded. We have emphasized some good practices, one of which is evidence-based decision-making. When you speak to multiple dimensions of a problem, you remove that emotion that comes in decision-making, okay? So when you speak by the way of numbers, by the way of illustration, people are likely to pay attention. We also have another new trick which came out at the end because people have been working on very complex subjects like Swahili. One time in class, we played the budget speech in Tanzania, which was delivered in Swahili. Then I asked everyone to give us just 5 words of Swahili. But now in this group, I know when Swahili comes to the floor of Parliament, people are going to speak effectively on all the different aspects of Swahili, okay? So we have really done a lot of learning. And also many styles came out because everybody had a chance to participate. So I know that there are people who know how to organize. There are people who know how to articulate. There are people who are very good at systematic thinking, okay? Then there are people who are very good at taking notes. So the teachers brought special skills, okay? The lawyers also brought special skills. There's a psychologist who helped us understand independent and dependent variables. And without wasting so much time, I had some small gifts I want to distribute. that speak to different aspects, core skills that I expect you to keep every day. So we shall, maybe I will detail my brother, Honorable Mwanga Chivumbi, and the guest of honor to do the honors. Please approach. This is the one time I can direct him to come close, okay? So panel one, where are you? Panel one, group leader, panel one, secretary, members. So the first rule that you'll follow, you'll receive the gift, okay? Then you'll open the gift eventually when I tell you to do so, and it will answer a particular question, okay? Mr. Kasana and other members of panel one, they worked on pay harmonization in the public service, which is a topical issue of the day. Please, you can go. Panel two, please. Mr. Sebi, I don't see you. Okay. Okay. So panel two worked on implementation of the amendment, Article 6, which introduced Swahili as an official language. And I can assure you they can speak from a point of reluctance, mild support, strong support, but all these people can now speak about 15 words of Swahili. And one of the skills that came out in panel two's work was when you're selling something, selling an agenda, you may realize there are some gaps. So you come up at the end and you sum up and you said, we missed this, but this was the reason, explaining. Thank you. This is panel two. Panel three, Chaligonza. So our chief guest, you realize that panel three, there are very few. Maybe they had the highest dropout rate, I'm not sure. So they were overwhelmed by the work. Employment is a really big issue in Uganda. And on the government's legislative agenda, there are so many laws that speak to employment. This group can speak to all multi-dimensional aspects of the employment problem in Uganda. Last week, I was invited by Parliament to address the opposition cluster. And I said, no, at least 2 slides, they can give us the slides because they can speak to all aspects of employment. Please, this is my small token to you. Then panel 4, maybe like the majority party in Parliament, they had an excess of numbers and so many strengths. So we detailed them to work on coffee, which is a strategic asset, resource, largest export. The highlight of their stay here, of their presentation, they invited the managing director of UCDA, who gave us an outstanding exhibition on various aspects of coffee policy. Thank you. And no worry, there was no procurement flows. So panel 1, you can open your present, please. The chief guest can go back. Please, you can turn to your seats. So one of the aids we found is that, yes, we're done. There's a lot of open source information. There's also a lot of classified information. So as the minister is a member of the cabinet, so they know that many processes are close to parliament. One thing I thought was very useful was to introduce this cohort to regulatory impact assessment, which is a major cornerstone of decision making. Guest of honor, our guests, the RIA process with which we interact when we are drafting legislation is a very key tool in organizing information, knowledge, and evaluating policy options. And one of the recommendations out of this, which will be in our report, is that we need to figure out how to integrate parliament into these RIA processes. So it's like a religion, okay? And that religion had not reached the corner step of the steps of parliament. So everybody now knows private members bill, do we have a RIA-like process, okay? And that will help in many things. My time is almost up, but panel one, what do you have? You can say, what is it? It's a chessboard. Okay, so the chessboard, that speaks to the complexity of legislation, okay? Legislation is the most complex language after mathematics, okay? So that is panel one. Panel two, what do you have? You're still opening. Panel three? So who has Scrabble? Yes, okay. We use so many words, but in the class we try to bring out what is the meaning, what is carried by a particular word. In this context, what does this mean? Okay, so people who are doing Scrabble, you have all the techniques, okay? Short sentences, good punctuation, and so on. Which people have the crossword? Okay, so the crossword, sometimes a particular word has more than one meaning, okay? So it is important to interrogate exactly what you mean, because decision makers, you don't have a lot of time. You must speak to an issue in a very short time. So the vocabulary must also grow very fast, okay? Then the last one, snakes and ladders. Okay, so snakes and ladders, okay? I won't use the analogy, but you know what a snake is. So you must know how you're going to strategize, how are you going to sell your program, okay? Maybe I need to talk to Seka Njako. Maybe I need to talk to Honorable Chivumbi, okay? When you're selling policy, you must operate like a snake, okay? So that, with those few remarks, I beg to end my small forte, and thank you so much for listening to me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I am being informed that there's another gift for the consultant. Whoever has the gift, please bring it very fast. That is from the office of the leader of the opposition, the staff. Oh, for the whole class, sorry. For the whole class. Sorry, pardon me. Please, please. Okay, thank you very much. I think that's part of the accountability, sir, our chief guest. The ribbon is green. But sir, we were very careful and we've been able to tell our staff that our role in this venture is to provide administrative and technical support to you. Time and again, I've reminded my staff that we have no role in any political interests. We are here to serve the politicians, and we're very conscious of that. I think it is time now to invite the clerk, in the interest of time, who is represented by Deputy Clerk, Mr. Waiswa Henry Yoel. Please rise and welcome him.
Thank you so much. Our chief guest, the government chief whip, the leader of opposition, the minister, the shadow minister of information, directors present, staff of parliament, our facilitators, ladies and gentlemen. In a special way, I'll begin by congratulating our chief guest, government chief whip, for the elevation of that office. Congratulate you and say God bless you and wish you success. As you are well aware, the clerk is quite busy with the yearly elections. He could have wished to be here by himself, but he has delegated me to represent him and have his written speech. Our chief guest, permit me first read his speech, then maybe I'll give my few remarks thereafter. He has written that it is with much delight that I welcome you to this historical event with the graduation ceremony of the staff from both the Office of the Leader of Opposition in Parliament and the Leader of Government Business. On the same breath, I want to congratulate our graduates for successfully completing the course. The occasion marks a great day in initiation of the Parliament staff as they receive their earned reward for the last 3 months. Staff from both offices have been attending the capacity building training 3 times a week from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. I have no doubt in this training aimed at improving the capacity in supporting the executive function of Parliament as one of the achievements of this institution for the year 2022. We are also aware that the hands-on training is equally beneficial to other categories of officers in other departments here in Parliament. For example, they can be helpful to people in research, law department, and other departments. The in-house capacity building training has proved to be cost-effective. Parliament only merits the facilitators, and training takes place using existing parliamentary resources. This training model has saved a lot of money and time instead of sending our staff abroad or to higher institutions to acquire these same skills and knowledge. I would like to thank the facilitators for the commendable job done. Tailor training program for officers with a different academic and professional background is no mean treat. This course blends trainers, some of whom are lawyers, economists, social workers, social science, name it. On behalf of management of Parliament, I look forward to improve the quality of outputs submitted for our members, better participation in the committees and the plenary. Once again, I take this opportunity to congratulate all the graduates and the respective departments heads for organizing this successful training. I would like to thank the organizers of this workshop, especially Mr. Peter, who initiated it, and later joined by Randy for the commendable job done. Thank you. I think the attendance has been good. And I believe the participants have learned something and they'll keep on learning. I hope there is a follow-up program. In other trainings, we always have a follow-up program. In case where members have not got the key skills they can fall back to, the facilitator can help them. We hope we'll be able to do that and develop mentorship program for this program. In the same breath, I would like to thank our Department of Corporate Planning and Strategy for raising the resources such that this training was carried out successfully. Last but not least, Mr. Psik talked about it, but I need to emphasize it, that as staff in the Office of the Leader of Government Business and the Office of Leader of Opposition, we don't expect you to engage in partisan politics. We expect you to offer technical guidance to these members, to be professional in your service. We don't expect you to be politicking around and to engage in other dubious activities. We hope that the knowledge you have acquired can help you as an individual and as an institution, even to advance your careers, not only in Parliament, but elsewhere you might go. Thank you so much, and I say, God bless you.
Thank you very much, the Clerk to Parliament. I will again give you an additional role, sir. I have no locus to invite the Leader of the Opposition to give his remarks. So I will request, sir, you use the microphone before you to kindly invite the Leader of the Opposition to address the graduates. You can speak from this.
Thank you so much. The Leader of Opposition would like to speak from there. I'd like to take this opportunity to invite the Leader of Opposition, who in turn, after we invite the Chief Guest, to address this meeting.
The Chief Guest, the Leader of Government Business, honorable colleagues here present, the Clerk. You know, I've just told the Chief Guest, I'm not so familiar with this environment. I'm not used to being official. I'm a pure an activist, so I'm not used to these things of being a boss, official, do formal things. So I was doing whatever I was doing. I'm extremely informal. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to represent the Leader of Opposition. And I'll stick to the text. I will not likely add on my own. I will not put in a local content. Where have I left you see, I've even left the right statement. That tells you how uncultured I am. Just for beginners, first of all, as an individual, I'm a consumer, a beneficiary, and a conveyor, most times, of good research work. And I've been blessed as an individual to work with the two remarkable researchers. One of them has since joined the Parliamentary Commission, Ashraf Fontanda. I worked with him and people thought I was a lawyer. I've never even been in a paralegal class, but I worked with him as a shadow minister for internal affairs, and I became an expert on military and security affairs when I've never even done a Chaka course. Then I also worked with and I still work with Charles Gonzam Moses as the shadow minister for finance. So I know what it takes. Actually, those two have made people think I'm a good member of parliament and a shadow minister. It's because of those two people. And therefore, when it comes to this kind of training, I don't take it for granted. I was asked by my boss to be here because he had an engagement outside Parliament. This so as I've told you, I'm very, very unfamiliar with this stuff. My colleagues and guests today, the leader of government, Chief Whip, honorable members present, distinguished facilitators and our graduates. I hope it's a good morning. Is it still morning? I hope is it afternoon? Yeah, okay. I hope it's a good morning for all of us. I find it a little challenging to start with anything other than to say congratulations. I want to imagine, like it is with most of the learning processes, this must have been a long, perhaps exhausting, and not always fun, but certainly a fruitful and rewarding journey. Like Henry Ford wisely said, coming together is the beginning, keeping together is the process, and working together is success. This is why we are able to be here this morning. I'm honored to be back here. Exactly. This is the LOP saying, not me. I was never here. I'm honored to be back here exactly 106 days later, when we were here to witness the filling off of a policy analyst in Parliament for a fully-fledged capacity building program. What an incredible group of people you are. I have to tell you all that I'm humbled, enormously proud, delighted, and most of all, exceptionally impressed by your collective participation to reach this far. Let me appreciate the policy analysts for the great zeal invested in the participation of these capacity building trainings, which were mainly aimed at empowering them, refining themselves as individuals, and most importantly for them to offer excellent guidance to honorable members of Parliament when it comes to parliamentary business. I believe that this training accomplished, with this training accomplished, our members will be able to put up evidence-based legislation and the good practice that comes with it. Those who work with some of us, any researcher that doesn't know the law, okay? You don't have the fact. You don't have the figure. You are only being argumentative. I normally task those who work with me in any statement, start with the facts, start with the figures, start with the law, and then accompany it with the argument. Not to start with the argument and look for the what? For the facts. Because once we start the other way around from the other paradigm, then you enter very, very difficult tyranny. You become liars, even for good politics. For those of us who do a lot of politics, I always tell people, you start with the fact, with the law, with the figure, then you accompany it with politics. Nobody will ever challenge you. That's why quite often our reports go unchallenged. And if you attempt to challenge them, you embarrass yourself. Like we are all aware, the world around us is changing faster than ever before. It is changing politically, socially, technologically, economically, as well as environmentally, as seen with the current climate change. Without a doubt, this is a significant challenge for all of us to deal with. We note that the world around us is changing. When I went to a training in a military school in Washington, we were told this century will be challenged by 4 facts. 4, and one of them you've touched it here. One of them will be population growth in Africa. How to deal with the new and rising population in Africa, because we are having the biggest migration, not the ones going out, with people living with high population. There's been a new effort to urbanize. People are leaving villages by day to come to city centers. How governments will deal with that will speak to the success of government policies. The second one was environmental change. Actually, they qualified it as the biggest threat to security and peace and order. Because with the environmental change, you risk to have starvation and hunger, and with the rising population. So there will not be stable government unless we address this one. The other one, of course, I don't want to go into it, you are researchers, was the deficiency of democracy. With abuse of rights, coercive leadership in Africa, this is likely to cause change. The fourth one was corruption, because it takes away resources that would deliver service. And once the services are not delivered, there will definitely be an uprising. That's why I don't know how many of you have read a book called Out of the Mountains, The Urban Gorilla. You should read it. It tells you the strategic threat to peace and stability in the whole world. It is the youth who have no job, okay, who have no employment. They are technologically connected. Once their issues are not sorted out, there will not be world peace. Anyway, for another day. It is because of this fast changing world that we witnessed movements towards population, nationalism, inwarding politics. For me, this is the defining factor. After all, most people don't like change, but change is inevitable. And if, as they keep saying, if you don't want change, change will change you. We must prepare and organize for change all the time. When I speak about change, not just change of leadership, change in the way we do and our country works. I fairly know how now our economy is standing. If we don't change and change radically, we are headed to an economic collapse. If the oil miracle does not come to the aid of this country, the next 20 years are going to be extremely difficult, because we will not be able to meet our debt obligations. I know how dire the situation is. That's when we call for change, not merely change of who a president is. Those ones can change. Today, by nature, people can die. But changing the way you work. So as researchers, you must be deep into these issues, because change is definitely going to be forced on us, whether we like it or not, because of what we've done before and what we intend to do. In the next 30 years, Uganda is going to have 100 million people. 100 million people. How many jobs are you creating? The last time I had data, jobs created annually in Uganda were a mere, was it 5,000 new jobs or thereabout? Less than 10,000. You can only pay school fee. The other day, the president was complaining about school dropout. But I can give you an interesting statistics that can amaze you. If you take 100,000 people that qualify to go to the university, government of Uganda pays sponsors 4,000 for universities across. Now, for tertiary institutions at diploma level, it sponsors an additional 6,000. The so-called government scholarship, let me call it, consumes another 1,500 only. out of 100,000 that qualify, we are able to pick only 11,000 in total. The rest, it's the parents, the people that pays for them. They sell land to sponsor education. They sell their cattle. It's driving people that are poor because they've got to acquire knowledge. In the next 120 years, you are going to double that number threefold, and not triple, threefold. There will be 300,000 that qualify to go to the university. Will your economy have expanded to that extent? It's not politics. It's the reality we are going to face as a country. Those youth will go to the street, whether you have guns. Therefore, there's a lot of research that requires to be done. That's why when we talk about change, we mean it. We don't mean just a mere change of who is the president, and that's a smaller matter. It can be a president, I can be a chief whip, but whipping who? Or presiding over which kind of a country? That's for me the bone of, and I think that's not partisan. It's everyone is concerned. So that's why we encourage researchers to think in terms of how to change and manage change, because we must speak to it. Now that you have all gone through the phase of training, I would like you to consider if your professional responsibility to be the guardians of the various outputs of this parliament. Talk about bills, statements, motions, to mention but a few. We expect outputs which are rich with well-grounded information, creative and innovative to serve the interest of this parliament and the public, but most especially upholding the highest professional standards and quality of the work done here. My remarks would be lacking if I left this podium without recognizing the effort that have been put in by different stakeholders. Let me start with my good friend, and you are blessed to have had a facilitator in the names of Karori Semogerere. If anyone knows his capacity, I do. And you could not have had anyone better to do so. And I know how deep he is on all these matters. I don't know whether you've been able to optimize his depth of knowledge. He's so solid in governance in this country and what he does, not just because he went to Harvard, but he learned so much informally. So we are lucky to have you, and hope, Clark, you to continue to utilize him. I also been told of the eminent facilitators that have come here. We thank them so much. But they would have had no. I also like to thank Parliament, and especially the clerk, for finding the resources and the space and the spirit to, and also thank the government for once. And let's clap. That is not a small matter. Chief, this is the way to go. For them to come to an idea that was conceived by the leader of the opposition and bring their researchers to be taught by facilitators who and to go with an idea that was nurtured by the opposition. I hope you follow more examples of this nature. This country will be a better place. And I hope also the opposition will find it in their heart. Once there is a good government program from which they can learn from, please, knowledge does not know colors. Today you are opposition, the next day you are in government, the other day the government will be in opposition. So in Kenya it is happening. All those that have been, some of them have now gone to the opposition. So we must know that there is a better Uganda. I must also thank the participants. I didn't know what you were doing, but I got a feedback from some of the people that were being given assignment. They would say, we are going for class, we are going for class, we are going for class. I would quarrel with some of them. I said, but you have work to do. Say, that learning is better, will prayer is better. So Mr. Karori, thank these people. They've been totally committed 100%. Now with those remarks, congratulations. And may I take this opportunity to invite our chief guest.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. That one is better. The Honorable Leader of Opposition, represented by my good friend and brother, my sister, the Honorable Shadow Minister in charge of information and anti-corruption, the Honorable Members of Parliament here present, the Clerk to Parliament, our lead facilitator, graduates, staff from Office of the Leader of Government Business, and staff from Office of the Leader of Opposition, all protocol duly observed, ladies and gentlemen. Congratulations are in order. Very, very in order. And I congratulate you on two fronts. One, for having successfully concluded your training, and that is my specific congratulations. Congratulations. The second one, and the broader, the bigger picture, is to congratulate you for attaining and for being part of the Parliamentary Commission. When you look at government 360 degrees, you will agree with all of us here present that Parliament is one of the best employers. I congratulate you. So welcome to this family. Welcome aboard. In life, every time you go through a training like the one you went through, it's like the different chapters in the Bible. You go through a training, a new chapter is written and added into you. And the good news is the chapter added into you through our lead consultant, we are the consumers. We will be consuming the results of your research work, and we will see how it will better our submissions in Parliament. I want to commend the Office of the Leader of Opposition for the great initiative to train staff, and the Office of the Leader of Government Business for their commitment and unwavering support during the training. You see, the opposition is like a mirror. They see us in the ruling party through the mirror. So they see the image. But for you as staff, you are apolitical, you are non-partisan, your service is to God and your country first. That is your service. Don't think by serving office of the Leader of Opposition, that is your first line of assault. Tomorrow you may want to join the mainstream Parliamentary Commission. If you were viewed to be too political and yet you are a technical officer, it may be difficult. If you are in the office of the Leader of Government Business and you want to be more than the Pope himself, You want to quote verses in the Bible and even go beyond those that are being planned to be written more than the Pope. It may also be difficult. Your work is to research. And when you research while having that in your mind that I am researching. The only country I have is Uganda. If your research brings this harmony into this republic, you better rest it. Your research must add value to your country. Your research must be able to point out the issues such that the leader of opposition can be able to present that mirror. Our nation is one. You can't claim to be a Kenyan. You are Ugandan 311. Even when situations are not good here, you will run somewhere. Home will always be Uganda. So whether serving the office of the leader of opposition or office of the leader of government business, your main allegiance is to the Republic of Uganda that gained independence in 1962. I also join others in thanking our lead facilitator. I think for me, this is not my first time meeting him. I have met him a number of times. He has trained us members of parliament a number of times. I want to thank you, sir, for imparting the skills and the knowledge into these young people. I am optimistic that your exposure to the development of policies and how they translate into laws and complement each other will enable you to make significant contributions during the processing of plenary and committee businesses. This training must add value, and this value added must be seen. And that must be your bragging rights, like the Americans say. When you walk like someone who can articulate matters of policies. When you talk like someone trained by a lead consultant, respected and eminent person in society. But when we do not see this coming out through your research work, we will wonder what kind of student you were. So I hope all of you have been good students. But the mere fact that you have joined the Parliamentary Commission, whether on contract, that shows you are part of the finest of the over 40 million Ugandans. You must congratulate yourself. You are part of the finest. The training is only adding value. As a Christian, I love to quote the Bible. Because if you do not believe in the Bible, then you believe in Satan. Because in life, there are only two choices. You can choose good or bad. Choose God or Satan. Choose light or darkness. In the book of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 6, the Bible says, "Let your light shine before others." You have not been trained for nothing. You have been trained such that your light can shine before others. If you are staff in the office of the leader of opposition, your light must shine before that office. If you are staff in the office of the leader of government business, your light must shine. And how will it shine? It will shine through the skills you have acquired, the knowledge you have attained, the understanding of the different topics that the lead facilitator took you through. And the broader picture is the training. So we must start seeing your light shining before others, shining before the leader of opposition, shining before the leader of government business in parliament. There is time for everything and a season for everything. This is your time. This is your season. You can only make two choices. Either to accept it as it is yours or to betray it. And the moment you betray it, you will be shown exit. For us politicians, we serve for 5 years. When your voters are not contented after 5 years, you are part of the attrition rate. But I'm happy that me and my brother, God has been very gracious to us. We have been around. Who is 25 years here going to 26? Who is 25 years or 26? Who here? All of you are 30s plus. So that means I came to parliament younger than all of you. You can imagine, but I see faces, especially ladies. You are younger. Why don't you accept? So for me, I came to parliament younger than all of you. Let me make that assumption because nobody was able to. You see, the contradiction of life is everyone wants to go to heaven. But when you are told that the only route for going to heaven, you must die, then you ask, how many people are ready to die? All those who had raised their hands wanting to go to heaven will never accept. But that is the only route. But that is the contradiction of life. So God has been gracious to us, and we pray that same God should be gracious to you. But you must execute your mandate with due diligence, with commitment, with precision, because the Bible says God helps those who help themselves. If you have failed to help yourself and you think you will continue crying to God, God help me, oh God, oh God. No, God also gets tired. There are so many petitions that move to him, not like the petitions of lawyers. All of us probably assembled here this morning, put our petitions before God. The moment you jumped out of your bed, I want to thank you for the gift of life. I pray for good life as I walk to office, as I drive to office. Please keep me safe. And all Ugandans are putting that petition. There are even people who are putting petitions to come and replace you and replace us, the political class. So you must work extra and extra harder. Finally, I call upon you to use the skills and knowledge of policy and legislative development acquired during this training to support the members of parliament with research-based data during the processing of committee and plenary business. When I talk about members of parliament, there is no institution which is the summary of Uganda. The only place you can walk in when all the 500 plus are assembled and you see the summary of Uganda is the Parliament of Uganda when it is in session. That is the only place because all parts and all corners of the country are represented here. So you have the privilege, you have the opportunity to serve the summary of the country. Butambala, Ajuri, I don't know whether you people even know where Ajuri is. You only hear about Ajuri, but you cannot write the history of Uganda and you don't include Ajuri County. That history will be incomplete. Yes, that history will be incomplete. Because when you talk about the 1964 Zanzibar Revolution, Field Marshal John Okello, you will not avoid Ajuri. You can't, because that is part of the history. African history, it is taught. That gentleman is from Aleptong, I must tell you. When you talk about the 1972 first Olympic gold medalist, you're talking about sports. My friend, you can't write that history and you fail to include the name John Akibwa. Where was he from? Ajuri. You can't talk about the youngest parliamentary commissioner since independence and you fail to include Obua Dennis Amson. Where was he from? Ajuri County. So you can't write the history of Uganda because even if you are writing the history of parliament, you are looking at those who served as parliamentary commissioners, their ages must be there. You will find that the youngest was someone from Ajuri. So friends, Ajuri is a village, I must also admit, but with very, very rich history. We are the ones who gave the political mandate to the late Obote in the Legico in 1961. He did not contest in Akokoro. He opted to come to our side. His headquarters was Aleptong. And he came here and superintended over the independence of Uganda. So how do you write the history of Uganda without a jury, without a Leptong, and you think I will give you 100%? I will give you 50%. Not a minus. I will give you average. So friends, I want to say thank you so much. In the church at our levels, we can be political church leaders. I believe as a constituency head, you are at the level of a reverend father. You are at the level of an archdeacon. So you can give political blessings. And I want to do that. It is not religious. I want to say blessings upon you. Go and serve your nation with nothing but distinction. God bless you for God and my country.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We'd like to thank very much the chief guest and the host for that wonderful speech. I do not want to re-echo what they have emphasized. I do believe that it has been very clear. To do so would be underestimating the intellectual aspects that have been articulated in his speech. Now, this is the time. I'm just going to invite the consultant to issue the certificates, and we'll ask the clerk to Parliament and then to be part of the team that will witness. The chief guests, please, because of COVID, we will not be able to do a handshake to our chief guests. What you do once you receive your certificate, stand there and respect our chief guest and the team and walk to your seat. Thereafter, we shall have a cake to which all of us shall partake on, and then we shall have music the whole day.
Mr. Abdullahi Sebi Azar. I have to put them for you.
I hope the certificate has nothing to do with performance, because
Mr. Asimwe Myers.
Now from the second one, you can know that it is
Alphabetical. That's the arrangement. Miss Athaire Anna. Mr. Chikomeko Douglas. Miss Keijaje Brenda. Mr. Kavuma Samuel. And this one has a longer name than Mr. Kasana Washington Adiel. Miss Kabibi Jean. Mr. Ziwa Stephen. Swahili Working Group. Mr. Walusimbi Leonard. I didn't see him today. No. Mr. Mkisha, come and receive it on his behalf. Ms. Tayewa Annette, I think Ms. Karori come and receive on her behalf. I think they are meeting the deputy speaker. Mr. Sunday Apollo Randy. Miss Julian Sentamu. Mr. Sekanjako Abubeka. Mr. Simiyu Saiti Id. Mr. Nwamanya Max. Miss Nachirija Deborah Sarah. Miss Nakaiwa Lydia Jane. Miss Nachirija, please receive. Miss Nakanjako Noelin. So we had the second Jako and the Nakanjako in the same class. Miss Namata Sylvia. Mr. Mutalia Geoffrey. Miss Mohindo Rehema spoke a lot to conflict resolution. Mr. Mugisha David. Mr. Arthur Mugabi. Mr. Lusiba Ali Rucha. Miss Kwagala Victoria. Mr. Moses Chaligonza. And Mr. Jagenda Hannington.
Probably before you go, our chief case, we're going to cut the cake. I'll request you to stay where you are. But in a special way, let me recognize the team that did the decoration from the Office of the Leader of Government Business. Thank you for the decoration. Yes, and then the people who prepared the tea from the Office of the Leader of Opposition. Yes. I'd also like to thank the committee that was part of the organization that we did this. I think we have all enjoyed. Please raise and clap for them. Can I request the two representatives from the two departments to join us here as we cut the cake. And then the man in the music behind is called Joseph from Munyonyo Parish. If you want him, please talk to him after this. Please give us a nice melody as we partake on the cake. Can we bring the cake here? Can I have two representatives from the office, the two offices, to join the team to celebrate your achievement this afternoon? Congratulations once again. We wish to see you again in next training. But in a special way, I would like to thank the Director and Office of Leader of Government Business, the Queen, Peace Smile, for supporting in the process. I also want to thank Mr. Charles Gonza in participating in formulating that document that we presented to the clerk. Okay, now it is the time to do the cake. Can I have another lady here? Okay. We are going to, where are the participants? One more lady here, please. Two more ladies or three. Please. Move forward, because you are going to represent the other side. Okay, the other side. Yes, go right side, please. I'm going to count from 100 to 0. Congratulations, Peter. Okay. 100, 0. Yeah, we're going to do a group photo, please. Can we do it here in the interest of time? Can we do a group photo here? Okay. Can we go the stairs and do, will it not take time? Why don't we do it here with this? So after serving the cake, please, we will move down at the stairs and we do a group photo. Can we do it from? The clerk is advising that we do it here. Okay, all right. The banner is here, all right. Can I request members to chairs? Okay, put some chairs, please. Let's put some chairs. Okay. Once again, congratulations to all of you. We'd like to thank you for your active participation. We'd like to thank our lead consultant. We'd like to thank our chief guest and host. Want to thank the clerk to Parliament. Want to thank the Office of the Official Report for providing us with the broadcasting facilities. We'd also like to thank the ICT department for providing us with the ICT facilities. Without you, we would not be here. But more importantly, we'd like to thank the media for making this event live broadcast. We've been on CCTV and also on YouTube. We thank the IT department for that. Once again, after this, we will have more melodies of music, and departure is at leisure. We invite the two representatives to open the dance as we partake on the cake. Okay, the dance is open. The graduates now should show us their strokes. Please dance them if possible. Thank you very much and wish you a good day. God bless you.